Just about 1 year ago today, my aunt made her very first visit to Poland. It was a very exciting experience as she had never been outside of the United States. So I wanted to show her the entire country, everything Poland had to offer. With that, we visited Lublin. And not to give you a spoiler here, but my aunt made the insane decision of standing on Lublin's death rock. You can see it right there. And this is a decision that she would come to deeply regret, as a few weeks later, she almost lost her life. So on today's episode of Kultamerica, I invite you to discover my aunt's experience of touching Lublin's death rock. And Chrissy, welcome to the program. It's your second time here on Kultamerica. You appeared in the Standing in Three States at Once episode years ago. And today I would like to recall your visit to Poland and, of course, your harrowing story of standing on Lublin's death rock. But if we go back to the start, tell me what it was like to come here. What was your first impression arriving in Poland?
I have never been to Europe, so boy, I was anxious, slept in the flight, which was a good thing. So I arrived fresh, and it was amazing to step on, my family's home ground. It was great and old, historical. It was just amazing. It was just amazing.
I made a bit of a mistake in the intro because I said that it was a year ago today, but actually it was in February, kind of shortly after the war broke out in Ukraine. So you also had the interesting experience of, seeing the various convoys driving around, all the political chaos in Warsaw. But we made a special effort to show you around the country. Now, before we went to Lublin, where you foolishly stepped on the death rock, can you share with our viewers some of the other things you saw here?
Well, my family, your Kasha, my great nieces, that was that was the best part of the trip. Seeing you guys, hugging you, it had been years. Then, we hung out. My great nieces took me around Warsaw, which was fantastic. Couldn't get enough. I think I bothered them with all the photos I was taking. They're like, put away your camera and just enjoy life. It's hard to do because I like to recapture the moments and enjoy all the photos. And then my nephew, took me to Krakow. We had gone to the mountains, and then we went to Krakow, where that was an experience in itself because I thought you were going to stay with me, and you didn't. You dropped me off, said, bye, Aunt Chrissy, have a good time. I'm like, I don't speak the language by myself. I'm in Europe. I don't travel. So I was nervous.
Well,
and you laughed.
You might not speak Polish, but you speak too goddamn much. And we had spent a week together in the car driving around. So I was like, all right, a little independent time is not bad. You have a fuzzy memory, as I see, but I can help you recall. You arrived to Warsaw, saw everything there was to see, and then you went with my wife to northern Poland, to the Hel Peninsula, to Sopot. You saw Malbuk Castle, arrived back in Warsaw, and then we got in the car where I took you to Lublin, Stalowa Wola, Przemysl, Rzeszów, Wieliczka, Zakopane, Kraków. But it was that stop in Lublin that I want to discuss with you right now. And maybe just to jog your memory a little bit, I showed you a pretty famous attraction there in Lublin. What do you recall about this moment? To the left, not the one to the right yet.
Yes, I remember that well. To the left, yes. So we read the historical plaque, Stone of Misfortune, and of course, I was all about picture taking and fun, and I'm like, oh yeah, right, take a picture of me on the rock. This will be fun. And you were sort of hesitant, like, Aunt Chrissy, I don't know if you should do that really. Oh, it's
So
just, it's nothing. Yeah, I had no fear of it, didn't believe in it. This is fine. Everything's going to go well. This will be a fun, funny picture to share with everybody when I get home. Yeah, little did I know that I think that stone almost took my life.
yeah, well, I think so too, because um, when you arrived back in the United States, our other aunt, your sister, Aunt Bonnie, contacted me and she was like, Chrissy would kill me if she knew that I was talking to you about this. But like, did you guys do something weird in Poland? Because she's really, really sick and the doctors don't know what's wrong with her. And I was kind of scared. And I know that you wouldn't want to worry us, which is silly. You should have told us. But
Mhm.
she said that you were actually in the hospital. So, I mean, this story is funny in a morbid way, only because you survived. But what happened when you arrived back in the United States?
I actually have a picture. Well, I was up for probably 36 hours on the flight home and traveling. So I never slept. And I have a photo of me when I got home and I looked healthy and well and happy. And it's a nice photo. And 2 days later, I got an immediate fever of like 104.6. And I was sort of delusional, very sick. So that was like 2 days. And then I went to the doctor, 2 days later, fever wasn't going down, taking Tylenol. And they did an x-ray and said, you have pneumonia. There's something in your chest. You need to go to the hospital. So was sent to the hospital where I was there for 2 days, 2 or 3 days. Um, Small town, not a great hospital. So they sent me home 3 days later. I still had 102.8 fever. Was no better. Went
We
back to
should
my
probably
doctor.
clarify that that's Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
Oh, right, Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
Fahrenheit. um, so went to my doctor 2 days later. Did another X-ray, and he said we have to send you to University of Madison Hospital, which is about an hour and a half drive. Big hospital, prestigious, good doctors. So I was there for a week. Um, when the doctors came in, they had known that I just returned from the trip to Poland, and so they were real concerned. I'm healthy, I'm fairly young, and they couldn't imagine what would be wrong with me, why I would be so sick. So they actually put me in quarantine, so everybody would come in all masked and gowned, and it was creepy. It was scary and really creepy. And I was so sick. I couldn't lay on my side, either side. The pressure, the pain, coughing, high fever, sweats, awful, just awful. I was getting worse instead of better. And they were giving me IVs with antibiotics. They changed the antibiotics like 3 times because none were working. And that was
Yeah.
the fear because nothing was working on me. Um, when the doctors were questioning me and I can't even, they must have done, I don't know, 30 tests for all kinds of different things that could be wrong with me, tuberculosis, on and on. And I told one of the physicians in the beginning that I returned from Poland, and I told them about the misfortune stone, the stone of misfortune. And he laughed and apologized for laughing because I was very sick. And but he thought, I said, I think this is what happened to me. And so after I told him that, every nurse, every physician that came into my room happened to walk into my room and said, "Oh, yeah, so we heard about the Stone of Misfortune." And everybody laughed. And everyone, they must have been talking about it outside at the desk because they all were laughing and they all came in my room. And first thing they said was, "Yeah, yeah, we know why you're sick."
Yeah,
So that
well,
was my diagnosis.
when you finally admitted to being sick, very stoic, keeping it to yourself, but I knew what was going on because our family gossips. Uh, I thought, geez, she really shouldn't have fucked with that death stone, or the stone of
Yeah.
misfortune. And the first thing you texted me was like, Ryan, What did you say? Something along the lines of, Ryan, if only I could take back touching that death rock. It's no joke. Something along those lines, right? So
Right.
I feel like it should be taken with a air of seriousness, quite honestly. Uh, after going through what you went through. So you didn't die though, thank God. What was the recovery process like from that? It seems like you got a warning from the death rock. How did you come back to your good health?
I did get a warning, and it took a long time. Positive energy, friends, excellent physicians. Um, I have permanent injuries actually. From it. I lost a lot of my hearing in my right ear.
I didn't know
I
that.
still don't hear right. It won't come back. So there's still, and my lung actually has scar tissue, which will never go away. So like every 6 months, I have to go for X-rays, for my lungs to make sure everything is fine and operating well. So I feel good. It probably took me about 3 months to get back to myself. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
lethargic. You know, shortness of breath.
Well, I think we should also share with the viewers that your looks are kind of deceptive. You're 50, how old now? 50,
56.
56. Yeah.
Mhm.
And no cosmetic surgery or anything like that. So you're just
Oh,
blessed
thank
with
you. Oh my God.
with natural youth, I think. Um, but my point in bringing that up is like 56, serious pneumonia, scar tissue in the lungs. This is a serious thing, and I want to ask you a rather serious question, because there's no telling how fast the Death Rock delivers its mission, if that's a way to say it. Do you feel that you've survived the Death Rock, or do you think that it's a like ongoing process?
I definitely survived it. I think it gave me. Um, I think it's sticking with me. The death rock, though. With my permanent damage. Like
Yeah.
never forget what you did. Don't do it again. Pass on the warning to other people. Take it seriously. There are historical stories about it for a reason.
Yeah,
That
that's
I
right.
love.
Well, I hadn't considered it previously, but I really, really hope that the Lublin Death Rock just gave you a warning, gave you some scars, right? You learned your lesson. Polish people are so
Right.
hospitable. Like, I can't imagine that even the Death Rock would want to kill someone who came here to visit. But I hope that it's not like a sadistic kind of spell where it takes 3 years to get you, and then we think, oh, we're case closed, and then 3 years later, something develops in your lungs. So, having gone through that in your visit to Poland, if we go back to Lublin next time you visit, because I do expect that you'll come back here, are you going to tempt fate?
Good question. I decided not to. I thought about it, like tempting it again and seeing if it's truly true, But after what happened to me, yes, I'm fearful, and fearful and respectful, very respectful of the misfortune stone. So I want to bring it an offering, not me standing on top of it, not that kind of offering. Flowers. Um, um, Kalachkis, something special for the
Yeah,
stone.
it's not a bad idea to come and humble yourself before the stone, but even when you're laying flowers, I wouldn't mess with touching that thing. Now, there's another side to this story. Okay, we've taken into consideration that my aunt almost passed away because of Lublin's cursed Stone of Misfortune, but there were some circumstances before you got sick that perhaps affected the outcome. So,
Yes.
as I told the viewers earlier, you crossed the whole country. It was your first time out, came back to Warsaw, and what conditions may have caused you to get that pneumonia?
Um, I wanted to take in all the sights and history and everything that I can see. So I was running nonstop. Didn't sleep much. didn't really take breaks to eat much, so I was sort of wearing myself a little bit thin. I think what did me in towards the end, um, weakened me maybe, for the misfortune stone to really do some injury to me. President Biden, he was in Poland, in Warsaw, and I've never seen a motorcade in my life or been close to a president. And so I was super excited. And as you remember, begged you, can we go? Can we go? Can we see it? And so we ran there. And, I'm sorry, prior to that, I had waited the day before when he was supposed to come and didn't know what time he was going to go through. So I think I was there from maybe 2 p.m. It was cold, damp. I was outside the whole time, and I got so tired and cold. I went into a cafe and I got a cup of coffee, and I was exhausted, and I sat like in the back of the coffee shop, and I ended up falling asleep. And I woke up and there's all this commotion. It's, empty. Everybody's like leaving. And I walked outside and I missed the motorcade. I fell asleep after standing out there 8 hours in the freezing cold, talking to news people. And I missed it. And I went back to my room, and you called because you had gone looking for me and couldn't find me. And I was crying.
I
And
was
then
worried you were gone
ended up
all day.
all day. All
Yeah.
day.
And it was raining,
Yes.
it was cold, and you were
Yes.
outside.
Yes.
And then, Chrissy, I
Yes.
told you, like, there's no sense in waiting in front of Hilton all day. Like, Biden is in Rzeszów now. He's not even in Warsaw. But you were, like, gung-ho. You were not going to miss this freaking motorcade. You stood there all day,
Right.
went to a cafe, fell asleep, and then, whoop, they just zipped right by you.
Right.
You actually extended your trip to see this, so you were hell-bent. And it's not the end of the story, because there was day 2, right? He was going to drive down
Right.
Nowy Świat, I knew this, to make a speech.
Right. Yeah. So we ran there. Almost missed it. We ran. Oh, that was funny too. So we ran there, worried we're going to miss it. And I love my coffee, and if people watched another episode of your show, 3 States at Once, they would know that, so
Yeah.
it's all about coffee, coffee, coffee. So we get there and we're waiting for the motorcade. And you said, oh, I think I'm going to just stop in that cafe and get a cup of coffee. And I'm like, well, I'll go with you. And you were like, this is crazy. You might miss it again, and I'm like, I'll just keep looking out. And so we went in the cafe, and I always like taking risks in life. I think I need to really think about the risks I take, like the stone.
Yeah, I'd say
that was
so.
probably a really stupid one. But we got our coffee. That was a risk that worked out really well for me because I had my coffee and I got to see Biden.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love it. Like, I'd just like to add a couple of details because you waited out there the whole day. You already said you weren't feeling the best. You went back to your room. You were like so upset that you missed the motorcade that you turned off your phone. There's no getting in contact with you. So I came to your hotel and I was knocking on the door. The next day, after all that, like you extended your trip for this thing, paid money, left your partner waiting, fucking lost sleep, stood out in the miserable rain, and then as like we're moments away from the presidential motorcade coming down Nowy Świat, like you could already hear the sirens somewhere off there in the distance. There was a stillness. The police had the road blocked off. I'm like, do you want to tempt fate? Get a coffee? And you're like, yes. And we went in. But we saw the motorcade, and it was pretty exciting. Later that day, I was cleaning out my garden, and this was when I think you started feeling bad because you're like, oh, I feel kind of feverish. I feel gross. I don't feel right. You didn't even really want to go out to eat that night. So it's hard to say if you almost died because you waited for the presidential motorcade to pass, or if it was because you touched the death rock, or it was because you touched the death rock and then this series of events played out. To anyone who's coming to visit Lublin, what would you advise them? Should they roll the dice?
No, Don't roll the dice. It's not worth it. It was months of illness, and I've never been so sick in my life and close to death. I do relate it to the stone. I absolutely do.
Yeah, that stone is no joke. And it's the worst part of this story? I see in the comments here. Well, Maciek is watching, who actually filmed 3 states at once with us in America. So, Cześć Maciej, that's amazing. And my cousin Jessie, who is really superstitious, is watching right now. She's never been to Poland. I've been asking her to come visit me for years, and I'm afraid that after hearing this story, she won't bite the bullet and come visit me. But I think as long as she stays away from that Misfortune rock, everything should be okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I want to go again. I'm going to go again, probably even this year. And I will visit the stone. But like I said, I will give it respect.
I know you well enough, Aunt Chrissy. I know you're touching this stone again. And maybe we should live broadcast that.
That is possible.
Yeah. Well, you want to know a secret?
Yeah.
And actually, I was with Maciek's brother when I did this. I touched that
Oh,
stone.
no.
I touched it like years ago. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that it's not I think that it takes you in its own time.
Okay, Ryan, but I have a question. Did you mock it? When you touched it, I think I sort of mocked it, because I stood on it and I laughed and, I'm like, oh, it's nothing, I don't believe
Chrissy,
in this. This is so funny.
Look at yourself. You're smiling in this picture. You're
Right.
gleeful. Like, haha, death, I own you. Like, no, I was the
Right.
opposite. When I touched it, there was serious reverence and there was regret that's lingering like until right now. So hopefully,
Right.
and it was just like a little touch too. Like maybe it could be an accident. But yours, you took it all the way. I mean, I give you get streak points for that. Like that was full conviction. Standing in that.
All right. Well, and Ryan, we should actually be honest and let the audience know, that you dared me to do it.
No,
I'm
don't
kidding.
say that.
You didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't. That's a joke. That's totally a joke.
Well,
you were telling me, like, don't do it.
yeah. No, I was concerned for you in your old age. It's no time to be playing around with these kind of things. So, and Chrissy, I love you. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing
Sure.
this story with everyone.
Okay. I love you too.
Yeah. See ya. So that was my Aunt Chrissy, everyone, who tempted fate by touching Lublin's death rock. Let me know what you think of that story in the comments below. Do you believe in the the legend of Lublin's Misfortune rock, or are we just being a little too superstitious here? Anyways, that is it for today's episode. Subscribe and stay tuned for new exciting guests next week.